I know this is a little bit of last week's news, but I got a reservation to visit Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland. If you didn't know, I've had a Disneyland trip planned and I'm going to be there from June 16th through June 20th. I'm going with my best friend Sarah from college, and I have a whole video earlier in my channel talking all about how we planned our Disneyland trip, because we actually booked our whole package last November and very strategically picked our dates kind of around Galaxy's Edge opening. From May 31st through June 23rd, the only way you can access Galaxy's Edge is with a reservation. And really what this time is a soft opening for the land. So although they're marketing as like opening May 31st, really these first few weeks are just previews. And I'm really going to technically say that the land opens on June 24th. So we had picked our dates because we saw last fall Disney released annual pass holder blackout calendars that showed starting the end of June, right around the weekend of June 24th, that certain pass holders were blocked out of only Disneyland Park for the end of June, all of July, and most of August. So we knew we had to get there before that time, because what other reason are they blocking people out of only Disneyland Park? Has to be that Star Wars is opening then. So the June 24th matches exactly with the blackout calendars, but when they surprisingly announced that it was opening on May 31st, I was super nervous because like, oh gosh, that we're gonna be there then. This is not what was planned. But, you know, as more details came out, this is only a very strict reservation time period, and I was lucky enough to snag a reservation. Like I've mentioned in a few other videos, I am not really a Star Wars person. It's not a series I grew up watching. I'm not really big into sci-fi, so I have seen all of the new generation movies in theaters. I even did see the third prequel in theaters when that came out. But my friend Sarah is a huge Star Wars fan, so she absolutely loves the movies. And once they announced that there was going to be reservations available for the land, I was so excited, not because like I'm into Star Wars, but because I'm so excited to see a fully new themed Disneyland. And I really equate what I think my experience with Star Wars Land to be most people's experiences with Pandora, the world of Avatar in Disney World. When the Avatar movie came out, it was such a huge, big box office success, but now in popular culture, it holds like no significance. Nobody remembers the movie. It's been so long. And so everybody was thinking, you know, how is Pandora going to be that nobody feels an attachment to this franchise? Well, Pandora was such a big, resounding success. The land seems beautiful. So much detailed theming. So I think Galaxy's Edge is going to kind of be like that for me, where I don't have necessarily the Star Wars attachment or knowledge, but I'm so excited to be transported and immersed in a new Disneyland at Disneyland. Disney took many weeks to announce how reservations were going to be handled, and I have two theories on why they waited for so long. The first is that it was kind of a sudden change announcement to move the opening date earlier. It seemed like the land was ready, so they're like, well, let's go ahead. And so it's possible that, like with, you know, a sudden change, they just had to take time to figure out, well, how are we going to do this system? How are we going to manage it? How are we going to set everything up? So it could be that they were just like working on making sure everything was super set. The second theory is that they wanted to sell hotel rooms, which, I mean, I obviously know this one is true. So the first way they announced you can get a guaranteed reservation to visit Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is by staying at any one of the 3 Disneyland Resort hotels during that May 31st through June 23rd period. Every guest gets 1 reservation access during that time, and it's just a randomly assigned time during your stay. So I actually feel like the people staying on property kind of got the short end of the stick. I don't know what Paradise Pier room rates are because they seem to have already sold out during this time, but that's probably at least around $400 a night. Disneyland Hotel is probably at least $500, and Grand Californian probably around $700. So a lot of people, especially right around the opening, paid the hotel rooms to get this guaranteed reservation time, but these reservation times were randomly assigned. They were just given out, could be, I think, on any day of your stay during any 4-hour time slot. But everybody else like myself who made reservations, we got to choose the day and time slot that we wanted to go, which so long as you were decently lucky enough, there was a very big selection to choose from. So I think that Disney wanted to hype up as much as they can the fact of book and stay on property at one of the Disneyland resort hotels so you can get guaranteed access to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And we're, hinting that you can still make reservations and not stay on property, but we're not giving out any information yet. But finally, they released that on May 2nd, the general public can make reservations. They had said that at 8 a.m. on the website Pacific time, they were going to release information on how to make the reservations, and then at 10 a.m. they would start taking reservations. So at 8 a.m. they basically already opened up the virtual waiting room for making your reservation, the screen page, but getting in early, they said, didn't mean anything, and it was just so long as you were there ready right at 10 a.m. The 10 a.m., I don't know if it was like at that time, it's like a random lottery of a kind of place in line they're assigning. So it was really like right at 8 a.m. the Disneyland.com website was struggling so badly. I was actually able to first get on because on my phone I already had a Galaxy's Edge FAQ page open that loaded right away and gave me the link to access the reservation waiting room. Because the actual Disneyland website was like hitting capacity, you would get kind of an error page of, this is loading, there's a lot of site traffic, just wait here, don't click anything or you'll lose your place in line. And then also there were immense problems being able to log into Disney accounts. I had multiple devices going, and so on one I would click the log into your account, and then it would just take me to an error page saying that this link is broken. If I did actually get to a login page, it wouldn't let it go through. So there was just so much insane traffic, and I feel like that 8 a.m. was really like the big constriction. But so I had just kind of like 3 devices with the pages set up going all morning. I had my phone, laptop, and desktop. I mean, even though they said there was no advantage to, having it open early, you still feel you might as well keep it open, have it be safe. So then 10 a.m. struck, and that's when things were officially starting to go. It was just kind of like a standard virtual waiting room page where it would just periodically refresh. And so you're just kind of like waiting. I'm doing like work on my other browser, just like, anytime now. And so for me, it was after about 25 minutes that I got through on my first device, which was actually my phone. For some reason, earlier on, I thought that I had waited 40 minutes to get through, but really it only took me 25 to get through based on my email confirmation and when I texted everybody. So I think, a 25 minute wait wasn't too bad at all. So when you get in, they make you log into your Disney account, and then you get taken to another screen where they're showing some information. And then this was like the biggest hangup of all for everybody. People who are making reservations can add up to 5 guests. So it was on this first screen, and it was very easy to miss, where you can click a little plus to add a guest to your party. So I needed to add Sarah, who's coming with me, as my guest. However, I saw so many angry tweets from people that they had missed this adding a guest step. So there were people who did get reservations to opening day, and they missed adding out on guests. So they were like angrily tweeting, "Disney, if you don't fix this and let us add guests, we're canceling your annual passes." And it's like, okay, calm down. But from all official things I saw from Disney, they were not letting anybody add guests, make any changes. So I wonder if they are going to change that and let people who missed out add guests. But it seems like they were very strict where you have to add your guests there. You added your guests on one page, clicked over to the next page, and then it gave you a whole selection of days and times to choose from. When I got in after about the 25 minutes, the only days that were totally gone were the first 2 or maybe 3 days of opening. So that was obviously scooped up right away because all the annual pass holders want to be the first people to experience it. But luckily for me, we are going towards the later end of this. So I was able to get the exact day and time that we wanted based on kind of how Sarah and I have already planned things. So I got a reservation for Wednesday, June 19th from 2 to 6 p.m. They had a number of 4-hour slots to choose from, so you could get 8 to noon, 11 to 3, 2 to 6, and 5 to 9. So they all have a 1-hour overlap, probably because they imagine, a number of people won't stay for the full 4 hours. So I checked all the boxes to accept their terms, and then I got my confirmation email, and the confirmation email comes with a specific QR code that you have to show and scan to get into the land. So when I got in after about 25 minutes, there was still so much, just like tons of availability, and it took 2 hours for all reservations to sell out. I didn't see anybody who was ready and waiting like before 10 complain that they couldn't get a reservation. Pretty much all the complaints I saw were people who missed the step to add guests to their party. But obviously there are going to be a lot of upset people who still didn't realize the reservation process, who see all this marketing from Disney saying the land's opening May 31st, and guaranteed there's going to be people just showing up there thinking that they can just get into the land who aren't aware of, that the fact that it's really just a soft opening preview, and they're probably going to be really upset. So Disney better be super careful with their marketing so they don't have a bunch of angry Disneyland pass holders. Now, there are some very specific conditions with the reservation that's included in the email that they sent out. So the key things with these reservations are that your entire party must be together and present at check-in. I've seen some official Disney tweets that kind of vary on this. It seems like you don't have to have your whole party there. So say somebody is sick and can't make it that day. It's just that they can't let people in any batches. Your whole party has to be there to get in. But I saw another tweet say that, say if one person doesn't want to go in, they can still need to be there with the group to check in and they don't have to go in. But I think they're going to be very strict and careful with the guest list. The next thing is that the QR code that you're given with your confirmation is really going to be your check-in, so you have to either have your email printed and ready or have it screenshotted and available on your phone. As of now, there is no linking of the Galaxy's Edge reservations to the actual Disneyland app. The next thing is that the primary guest, which would be like myself in this case, the person who made the reservation, has to have a valid ID. And if that primary guest doesn't have a valid ID, then the entire party cannot enter. So you have to have a government-issued ID if you are the primary guest. And then every single other guest that is over 18 also has to have and show a government-issued ID. So like I said, they are being very strict with the guests and making sure that the person who is on the reservation is the person who is getting in. Some other key things are that no changes can be made to this reservation, including adding or modifying guests or changing the date and time. So if you messed up with the day and time that you got, you're out of luck. If you messed up with the guests adding them, you seem to be out of luck. And also, of course, reservations are void if transferred or sold and have no cash value. Unused reservations are forfeited and will not be replaced. So if people don't show up, they don't show up. They're not going to open up any more reservation slots. As of at least right now, there is still availability at, I think, the Disneyland Hotel and the Grand Californian during some of the soft opening. It seems like Paradise Pier is sold out most of the dates because obviously that's the cheapest option. So if you do now want a reservation to visit during this soft opening time, you can only get it by staying on property. Now, the thing that I think is going to be interesting is how are they going to handle the guests who made multiple reservations? It's strictly stated that there is only one reservation per registered guest. So what this means is that during this whole soft opening reservation time, you're only allowed one reservation one time into the land. However, because of how this system has been set up, I know there are a number of people who have gotten multiple reservations. There are some people who have booked a stay at one of the Disneyland hotels. They have that reservation, and then they also made a reservation on this free-for-all open day. However, from the Disneyland Today official Twitter, they said that you cannot double dip with those reservations, that you can't have a hotel one and the separate one. So there's going to have to be some cross-checking there. Also, obviously, a primary guest can make a reservation and add a whole bunch of guests. So if you have multiple people making different reservations and adding guests, then obviously these people are going to have multiple reservations. I'm thinking that there's going to have to be some linking to your ticket passes. So obviously most of these people are APs, so I'm imagining that you go in and they're going to make you scan your ticket and your pass, and that's going to log in the system if you've been in or not. So I'd imagine they're going to monitor that in some way. But I'll be interested to see if people, with how this reservation was set up, are able to get into the land multiple times. Or it'll be interesting to see if there were people who are staying on property who made this extra reservation, if then this extra reservation gets canceled. So it'll be really interesting to see how it plays out. I'm also really interested to see how, busy the land is going to be during this time. Obviously, there are a decent number of rooms on property, so there's already those people who have reservations, but I have no idea how many they opened up online to the general public. They did sell out pretty quickly, so I imagine it has to be pretty limited. And since this is just soft opening previews, really, I imagine they don't want to really overwhelm the land. But you only have a 4-hour block of time in there. And there's also only going to be the one attraction open. So they can't have so many people in where it's a 4-hour wait for the ride. But it does seem like this is probably going to be limited and probably, hopefully, the best way to be able to experience the land. I also have to decide kind of what's the priority going in. I don't have any desire or need to do the build a lightsaber or adopt a porg. I think I'm most interested in just exploring the land, seeing the theming. I really want to try the food there. And of course I want to just kind of generally look at the merchandise. I don't know how excited I am for the ride, the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, because it is a simulator ride. It feels kind of similar to Mission Space in how it's a simulator and you're kind of controlling the flight. I specifically have never ridden Mission Space because I get very bad motion sickness on simulator rides. I can handle one ride on Star Tours and that's it. And I can't handle any of the rides at Universal. Those are miserable. So I'll have to see during kind of the early impressions what people think of the ride. If it is a really interesting ride, do people get motion sickness on them? I feel I'd more so mainly be interested in going through the queue and seeing what that's like. But I feel it'd almost be best to hit up everything else in the land, get the food, kind of explore, and then toward the end of your reservation time slot, get in line for the ride. Because I assume once you enter the queue, they're not going to be oh, your reservation time slot's up, sorry, you have to leave. So I feel maybe that would be best. I also don't know how many people are going to choose to go right away to the one attraction, because Rise of the Resistance, the big dark ride, isn't opening until sometime later this year. But I'm just really excited to be able to experience and be part of this new stage in Disney history. Galaxy's Edge opening is just one of the biggest things to happen at Disneyland, and then also at Walt Disney World. Disney World's Galaxy's Edge, which is exactly the same as at Disneyland, is going to be opening at the very end of August. Disney World is not doing any type of reservation system. What they are doing and just announced is that they're having extra magic hours. So Hollywood Studios, for a substantial amount of time, is going to be opening at 6 a.m. So with they're just trying to have as many hours in the day available for guests. So if you want to be able to experience Galaxy's Edge at Disney World, you're probably going to have some very, very early mornings. And of course, that's only for guests who are staying on property. But I think this reservation system to kind of start off is a nice way to go. But Disney World is so big and it's so many people with vacation packages that I can see why it's just kind of easier for them to just open the park super, super early every day and let people have it that way. So I still have a bit over a month until my Disney trip, but the days are ticking down more and more, and I'm super excited. I think they're only just doing the media preview for Galaxy's Edge 2 days before they do the May 31st opening. So I'll have to see how much of that media I want to consume, or do I just kind of want to be surprised going into the land. I at least definitely want to figure out what's the best food, what's the coolest food items to try, but I'm just super excited for this experience. If you were able to get a reservation to Galaxy's Edge, I'd love to know when you're going to be going. And of course, I'll be around in the parks from the June 16th through 20th timeframe. But thanks for watching!